You are listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Baskar Sundaram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry.
Today's guest is Cathy Day. Cathy has over 35 years of experience directing, delivering, and training capture and bid teams. Cathy designed and developed the Association of Proposal Management Professionals Accreditation Programme. Cathy is an APMP Fellow, APMP Accreditation Director, and Chief Examiner since 2014.
Welcome, Cathy, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
So, Cathy, our first questions are about your life and career. Where were you born?
I was born in Woking in Surrey, which is about 25 kilometres southwest of Heathrow.
Oh, that's great. And where did you go to high school and get your education?
Well, do you know what? I have no qualifications at all, apart from the qualifications I developed myself for APMP.
Oh, that's amazing.
I left school early to become a nurse. So I guess I'm a qualified nurse.
So was your first job as a nurse?
Sorry?
Was your first job as a nurse?
Yes, it was when I was 16. So I left school at 16 before I took any of my exams. My parents were really, really upset with me. And I started, first of all, working in an old people's home across the road from where I lived for a year. And then I moved to the local hospital and trained there.
Wow. So what got you into the proposal profession?
I had a dancing habit and a car that I wasn't able to finance on a nurse's wage. Mm-hmm. So after a couple of years of doing double shifts and working all night and then working all day to pay for my car to stay on the road to take me to the dancing competitions, I decided I needed to get a better paid job. So I did a year's training course, a government training course to become a secretary in actual fact. And at the end of that, I got a job immediately with an organisation that wanted me to write bids. I'd never written a bid in my life, but they had just fired the whole of their international department, and I just walked into bidding that way, really. So like most people do, it's not a conscious thought, it's just something that happens. And I was never going to be very good as a secretary anyway.
That's such a cool story. What's your most memorable proposal or capture effort?
My most memorable one? I don't know, there are so many that are really memorable, but possibly one that I did in the early 2000s, well, two or three that I did actually, in the early 2000s when the NHS in the UK, I think it was 2000, the NHS in the UK went out for a number of different organisations to help them with their IT services and various other things. And I think for about 2 years, and this was just before I joined Shipley and became aware of the APMP in actual fact. But I joined and worked with an Indian offshore organisation that was partnering, or as part of a initial 2 or 3 organisations which developed into a consortia. They were the smaller part of the consortia, but nobody else in the consortia had any experience of delivering consortia bids. So by default, I was made the capture manager, if you like, for that consortia. And I also, as that one finished, then another consortia approached me to run their bid. So for about 18 months, I was working on almost solely, maybe it was 2 years, solely NHS bids running consortias. And I'm happy to say that each consortia I was in won. So that was very...
What an amazing accomplishment. All right, so the last one about your life and career, can you tell us 3 things that not many people know about you?
3 things that not many people know about me. I guess actually I'm quite a private person and quite a quiet person. I think the APMP members tend to see me as this person that is right out there and everything else, but I am quite a private person. I have an amazing daughter who I love to bits, and brought her up pretty much on my own. And I recently married Tony Birch.
Oh, wow.
Tony Birch from Shipley, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I can say I don't know those things, Cathy, but I don't know all 3 things. Yes, Cathy, thank you. So when did you actually join APMP, Cathy?
It was, I think it was 2001. I went to their second meeting. I went to the APMP UK chapter's second meeting, and I joined immediately after that meeting. So from a UK chapter perspective, I think I'm about member 22 or something like that. And
you became the chief examiner straight away in 2004, 2004, Cathy?
No, it didn't quite happen like that. One of the things that attracted me to the APMP at that meeting was they were talking about, Steve Shipley was the presenter for the evening, and they were talking about developing an accreditation programme for people in capture and bidding and turning it into a profession. And I guess I felt that since that has been something I'd looked for by then for many, many years, and the closest thing that I could get to it was a project manager certification. But I was kind of aware that I had a different skill set and a successful different skill set by then to project managers. Some things were the same, some principles were the same, but it was different. Anyway, I heard Steve Shipley on that night, and one of the things which stuck with me was the fact that Steve was saying that the vision was that a certification programme should have an entry at degree level. Well, of course, after what I've told you, that puts me out of the picture completely because I don't have a degree. And I felt really, really strongly about the fact that there were probably many people who had fallen into bidding, as I had done, and capture, who weren't necessarily qualified to that level, but had very, very successful skills. So I stayed close to the organisation or the chapter in the UK for the rest of that year. And at the end of that year, the UK chapter put out a notice to its membership, by which time that was about 150 people, that they were looking for a special projects director to look into the possibility of developing a certification programme for the UK. That's how it started. Now, at that point in time in the APMP, I was not known by anybody at all. But because it was something that I had looked for about 20 years, I put my name forward and didn't expect to get picked at all. But I was picked, and I was picked alongside Tony Birch. So that was the end of 2001. And in 2002, Tony and I started thinking about how we could put together a certification program. And Tony really sort of managed the politics and the strategic aspect of it, whereas I was much more involved in the delivery and the development and the detail of the certification. And we took about 3 years to develop the 3 levels. And it was launched in 2005 at the international conference in the States. And the first chief examiner, in actual fact, was a chap by the name of David Sutherland. And that was because he was known within the APMP and had been known for many, many years within the APMP. And we had been advised that the chief examiner had to be somebody who was credible. That isn't to say I wasn't credible, but as we were going into the development of it and stuff, nobody really knew in the APMP who I was. So David had that role to begin with. And then as soon as I had done my own practitioner and professional, David retired, and I followed him into the chief examiner role, and I've held that role ever since.
Wow, Cathy, there's a lot of work has gone in the background. So from the time that you started, Cathy, to now, I'm sure that the certification went through a few iterations. Cathy, what was the major highlights for you, Cathy, as a APMP Chief Examiner?
I think, I mean, I can't pick one, Baskar, really, because it is the most humbling experience to understand every time somebody passes any level of the certification program. It has the potential to change their lives and the way in which they are perceived within the organisation. And so many people over the years have been kind enough to write to me and to thank me for developing the program, because it has changed their lives. So I don't think there is a particular highlight. I think that continues to be the most humbling experience ever, to be honest.
100%, Cathy. The amount of people that you've touched, Cathy. Even I'm an example that I did foundation and practitioner with you, and without you, I had no chance. Thank you, Cathy. I mean, like, you are one of the person that helped me.
You definitely would have had a chance, Baskar.
Yes, Cathy. Just looking at the whole process, Cathy, I think from concept all the way, if you take this new practitioner as an example, Cathy, if you can just share the experience of how the whole process from concept to design to the trial to the launch, how the whole thing happened, Cathy, that would be of great interest, actually.
So the process of moving to the practitioner OTE, is that
Yes.
what you mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
Cathy, that's right, yeah.
Well, I guess we had a little bit of a head start because the syllabus was set for APMP, and then for the 2005 launch initially, and that's what the certification levels had been developed against. And that was revisited and re-looked at as is required by the international standards around 2012, 2013, just after Rick Harris joined the APMP. So we had a syllabus, and essentially that's the starting point. Then the consideration is how to test. And again, for us, because we had worked and continue to work with APM Group as administrators of our programme. They had already moved a number of the other certification programs they had to an OTE, an objective test exam. And therefore, they gave us a lot of guidance, gave me a lot of guidance as to how to think about each of the different learning levels that we needed to test at practitioner, and the sorts of questions that meant that we had to come up with. Of course, by then we had the APMP body of knowledge to refer to, but every single question and every single answer has to have an absolute justification as to whether it is correct or incorrect in the body of knowledge. So each paper, and there are 3 papers, there's a sample paper which people can look at. Each paper required me to go through that process, thinking about the questions, thinking about the answers, and then actually making sure that the answer to the question, correct or incorrect, was clear in the body of knowledge. And once I was satisfied that the papers had been put together sensibly in that way, and there was no more than a 10% margin between each of the different learning levels that are used at practitioner, then we went to pilot, and we piloted with small groups that each of the approved training organisations were invited to involve, and the training organisations themselves. And we had feedback from the pilot sessions, which was then integrated into the exam papers. And after that, we went live. And that's the process, really.
Wow, Cathy.
So each paper takes somewhere between 3 and 4 weeks to write initially. And then there's the revisions, etc., that go into it from feedback and all of those sorts of things.
Oh, that's you made it sound very simple, Cathy. Even it was slightly, my God, a lot of work has gone in the background. And all we do is we just sit on the outside and we just take the exam. But internally, it's fascinating how much work has been going through. So the relationship between APMP and APMG, Cathy, I mean, like it started with the practitioner foundation. Is there any plans for us to do more and more with them, Cathy?
APMG are a strategic partner of APMP for certification, and the plan is that they stay on board. So APM Group are the people, essentially they are the people that are audited to make sure that the certification programs they run meet international standards, and that's a regular audit that they go through. I think it's every 5 years. They go through that. So they require all of the papers that are written by organisations like APMP and myself to meet a certain set of standards, ISO standards, to make sure that there is no fundamental difference between the papers. More than that, they are the ones that issue the certificates, and for all of the levels of certification, and they are the ones that have the database where our exams are held. They also have the insurance to cover if a candidate sits an exam and is to say they are of a certain level on that day, and then they perform badly somewhere, and an organisation, objects to them having that certification, they go to APMP, who cover that liability insurance.
Wow, that looks like a very strong relationship there, Cathy. And now we have practitioner, OTE. What are the other certification that's on the pipeline, Cathy, for us?
Oh, there's a few that we're throwing some ideas around at, but nothing that I would like to discuss right at this minute, I think. There will be more, but the time frames of them and those sorts of things are not set, and we're still in the very early stages of doing that thinking.
Perfect, Cathy, because I can understand, because we are just in a point where the new practitioner is just been settling down with people, and foundation is being well received. So I fully agree with you, Cathy, and great to hear about APMP and your relationship with APMG as well, Cathy, with the certification. So yeah.
So Cathy,
it will continue to evolve. That's the main thing. I think it will continue to evolve.
Yes, definitely, Cathy.
Cathy, those are very exciting things. I know I've really enjoyed the certification processes, and I'm working on my professional right now.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I have a couple random questions for you. They're kind of fun, so hopefully you'll enjoy them. If you could be an Olympic athlete, what sport would you compete?
If I could be an Olympic athlete, what sport would I compete in? Probably long distance running.
Are you an avid runner?
No, I don't run at all. But if I could run, I think that's the one that would interest me the most.
Yeah, it's a nice scenery, hopefully. If you could ask your pet dog 3 questions, what would they be?
If I could ask him or tell him stuff. If I could ask my pet dog 3 questions. Gosh, I don't know. I guess I'd like to ask him whether he dreams in barks or whether he dreams in another way. Because when he's asleep and dreaming, he sort of barks, and I don't know how he dreams. So I'd like to understand how he dreams. What else would I like to? Why he wants to eat all the time? I don't know about a third, but I think those would definitely be 2 questions I'd ask him.
Oh, those are so fun. So what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
I think I would have liked to have known at the beginning, because I used to get really frustrated by the fact that I wasn't seen as a professional in what I was doing. And yet, by the time I joined Shipley, over my career, I had an almost perfect win rate. And I knew I was good, but I was seen in every single organisation that I worked for until then as a glorified secretary, really, until I became a consultant, which was a good few years actually before I joined Shipley and got involved with the APMP. And it just felt really hard to be recognised for the contribution that you put forward. None of the skills that I believed I had were recognised until then. And I guess that's what drove me always to be looking for some form of qualification. And that was how I thought about it. Some sort of qualification that would prove to my peers that, I was okay at what I did.
Oh, that's awesome. Who is the kindest person that you know?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Who is the kindest person that you know?
who is the kindest person that I know? I know lots of very, very kind people. I don't know that I can pick one. Okay. All of my friends are really kind. I have never, throughout the people that I meet when I'm traveling and training or at conferences for APMP, most of the people there have always given me the impression that they're really kind. Certainly all of the people I've worked with on certification to develop it and things like that. And last but not least, my daughter, because she is so very, very kind-hearted.
It's probably because you raised her so well. Okay, so if you could eat only 3 foods for the rest of your life, what would they be?
3 foods for the rest of my life. Cheese. Cheese would definitely have to be in there. Love cheese. Cheese and vegetables and fish, I should think. I like all of those. Could give up everything else, but I couldn't give up those.
Oh, those are great ones.
It's good that how you pick the wide variety of foods. You have vegetable. Very, very, very good response, Cathy. So, because I know you mentioned that you have so many kind friends, Cathy. If you just look upon your career or in life in particular, who are some of the most influential people, or who are you more grateful to, Cathy? Maybe you can list as many people as you want, just reflecting back.
Who am I most grateful to? I guess I'm most grateful to the APMP UK chapter for pursuing the possibility of a certification and choosing me to be part of that journey. To Tony, who, whilst he's my husband now, hasn't always been my husband, for having the same vision, I think, as I did for certification, but more than that, for believing that I could do the training that I've delivered for years for Shipley. And when I wasn't at all confident that I could, because I don't like standing in front of people, or didn't like standing in front of people. My friends, because I wouldn't have been able to do any of the things I've done in my career without them. They supported me in looking after my daughter when I had to be away, and making sure that she was part of their family. So, I think those would be the main ones.
Beautiful, Cathy. Family, friends, and colleagues, all kind of you rounded up nicely there.
Yeah.
So, Cathy, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and who gave it to you?
I can't remember who first gave it to me, but the best piece of advice, and the advice I had given daily to my daughter ever since she was very, very little, is follow your dreams and never give up on your dreams.
That's great.
But I can't remember who said it to me first. It's kind of an ethos that I've lived by, I guess. It was a long time ago anyway.
Yeah, no, that's great. If someone asked to be your assistant and learn from you, what would you teach them?
I guess, which aspect are we talking now? Because I have the day job and I have APMP certification, and the day job, it's really about, for me anyway, it's about the flexibility of how you can use best practices, and they're brilliant because of it, because they flex so well in any industry and any environment. Whilst people like to think that's not true, it is absolutely true in my experience. And from an APMP perspective, from certification perspective, there are many aspects of certification that need to be, and standards and things like that need to be understood to develop a certification program. So it is beginning really with understanding the best practices, and at whatever level. I would like to be able to teach, and I do teach people from the ground up, basically. And I've seen so many people who have maybe come initially to a foundation course and then progressed through the various different certification levels of APMP and continued to contact me to ask for advice and that sort of thing as they've gone through different bidding situations. It is really just knowing how to flex everything.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like you're an amazing teacher and mentor, Cathy.
Thank you very much. I don't know.
So, Cathy, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Well, continue what I'm doing, I think. Evolving the certification program, as I said. There's a lot I would like to do. And carry on training and consulting on live bids. I haven't moved away that far that I still don't enjoy working on live bids. In fact, I think these days it's probably the thing that gives me the biggest kick is going into an organisation and training people and workshopping with people, strategy, and those sorts of things. I don't sit on bids very often from start to finish now, but working with them to develop them whilst they're on a live opportunity, because every opportunity is different. It is challenging every time, and I love it.
Oh, that's really exciting. Those are some of the things I love about bids too.
Yeah, I am that really sad person that still likes to win.
Thank you so much, Cathy. Thank you so much for all your love and time on this. It's a privilege to have you here with us at Scribble Talk, Cathy. Wish you all good health, happiness. Please continue to inspire our bid and proposal industry colleagues. So love to have you here with us, Cathy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for inviting me.
Always a pleasure, Cathy.
Okay.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Baskar Sundaram,
signing off.